on your domestic sewing machine is fun. I think piecing on a serger is just as fun. When I set up my stitch, what I'm going to use is a 3-thread overlock. You can see I have my needle thread in that right position because I want a narrow stitch. Then I have an upper looper and I also have my lower looper. I do lengthen my stitch length out to about 3.5. Now what I've done is I've actually attached the stitch or the cutting width guide, and what this does is this helps me, it almost acts as a rail on a 1/4-inch guide on your sewing machine does. It's a guide that I can butt my fabric up to. Now when I first started piecing on the serger using Overlock, I actually did start by marking my fabric. And what that did was, after a period of time of having that fabric piece marked and making sure that I was always aligned, my needle was aligned with that marking, I knew where to place the edge of my fabric on the guide, and also by positioning that marking with the guide on my presser foot, I always knew I had that 1/4-inch seam allowance. Now we will be trimming off a sliver of fabric, but that's okay, because again, as long as in our entire piece we are trimming off the same amount of fabric, we are okay. And again, we are at a 1/4 inch because we're stitching on that 1/4-inch marking. So now my first piece is underneath my presser foot, and I'm just going to start to sew, keeping that fabric aligned. And that, again, that tick marking right there is aligned with my marking on my fabric, which is basically where my needle is sitting. There goes my first piece, and now I'm going to go ahead and place my second piece underneath there. And if I take a look at that, you can see how beautifully that is aligned. Now when I'm done, I'm going to raise that thread cutter, clip that. Now I have my 2 pieces ready, and this time I did not mark my fabric. This time I'm going to take it on blind faith that I know where to align the edge of my fabric to get that 1/4 inch. And the great thing about the serger is, because of the feeding system on it, if I have fabric that tends to be a little bit longer on one end versus the other, everything eases in. The other thing is this is a great secure stitch for a quilt that's going to be used a lot, such as on a bed, or one of those quilts that sits in your family room that you use when everybody wraps up and watches TV. And voila, look at how beautifully I have those points in that corner. And this was all done using that 3-thread overlock stitch, trimming off just a little fabric, the standard presser foot, and then the cutting width guide, all on your Babylock Vibrant.